We turn now to the news just coming in. The Department of Justice is set to offer Boeing a plea deal, allowing it to plead guilty and avoid a trial over allegations it misled the FAA during its evaluation of the Boeing 737 MAX. The 737 MAX was involved in 2 fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019. Families of the 346 victims have been pushing the DOJ to take Boeing to trial and to impose hefty fines. Attorneys representing those families say they oppose the deal. Both Boeing and the DOJ have declined to comment to ABC News. Next tonight, the New York State Attorney General is launching an investigation into the fatal police shooting of a 13-year-old boy in Utica. Body camera video of the incident was just released overnight. This weekend, hundreds attended a vigil for the 8th grader. Officials say they believe the boy had a handgun, but they said it turned out to be a BB gun that closely resembled a real gun. Details tonight from ABC's Morgan Norwood. We warn you the video is disturbing. Tonight, for the first time, we're seeing police body camera footage of the moment an officer in upstate New York shoots and kills 13-year-old Min Wei. In the video, you see Utica police stopping the 8th grader and another teen, who they said matched the description of robbery suspects.
I just pat you down and make sure you got no weapons on you.
As an officer moves in, Min runs away. The teen appearing to point at officers what authorities say they believed was a gun, circled in red, in edited freeze frames released by the Utica Police Department. Police catch up, pulling Yan to the ground. An officer identified tonight as 6-year veteran Patrick Husney, shooting Yan once in the chest during what the police chief described as a struggle.
There's just one shot, it was me.
Tonight, authorities also releasing this photo of what they say turned out to be a pellet gun, a replica of a Glock 17 Gen 5 with a detachable magazine, not an actual gun. Wei's mother sobbing at the press conference Saturday.
I don't think any officer goes on the job hoping to shoot or intentionally try to shoot anybody. They're looking to be able to come home at the end of their shift like anybody else.
Say his name!
Overnight, hundreds gathering to remember Nhin, a refugee born in Myanmar and a member of the Karen ethnic minority.
He shouldn't be here crying and mourning for his little brother. This country is supposed to be a country of freedom, a country of peace. What's going on?
Rachel, police say this wasn't a random stop, instead part of a police investigation. The chief also saying they've arrested teens for carrying replica guns before and calling it a disturbing trend.
Now to the race for the White House and more fallout from the first presidential debate. President Biden spending the weekend at Camp David, his campaign trying to turn the page, saying it has raised more than $33 million since Thursday. But questions about the president's age and mental fitness are not going away. Here's ABC's White House correspondent, Mary Alice Parks. Tonight, President Biden with his family at Camp David as Democrats try to chart a path forward following his dismal and worrying debate performance.
There are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party.
Congressman Jamie Raskin saying there's a world where Biden is not the party's nominee, but Biden himself would have to choose to step aside.
Whether he's the candidate or someone else is the candidate, he is going to be the keynote speaker at our convention. He will be the figure that we rally around to move forward and beat the forces of authoritarianism and reaction in the country.
But other Biden allies offering a more full-throated defense.
The stakes of this race couldn't be higher, and the only Democrat who's ever beaten Donald Trump is Joe Biden. He is our candidate for November, and he has the best shot to beat him.
The Biden campaign arguing that if the president were to drop out, it would lead to, quote, weeks of chaos on the convention floor. Republicans already tying senators up for re-election to Biden's debate performance. Former White House chief strategist for President Trump and his close confidant Steve Bannon predicting Trump will win in a landslide during an interview with ABC's This Week co-anchor Jonathan Karl. Tomorrow, he begins serving a 4-month prison sentence for defying a congressional subpoena to discuss his role in the January 6th attack.
Will you appeal right now, message to all of Trump's supporers, to respect the results?
Are you going to pull this
win
again?
or lose?
This is your question.
Have you asked
a Democrat this question? Yes or no? The answer is no. Have you asked a Democrat this question?
I haven't seen Democrats storm the Capitol to try to stop the election.
We turn now to overseas and fierce battles in northern Gaza as ceasefire talks stall once again, and new fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. ABC's Nat Gutman following those developments from Tel Aviv.
Tonight, with an Israeli raid into a Hamas stronghold in northern Gaza entering its 4th day, troops in close quarters combat, going room to room, About 60,000 Palestinians near Gaza City forced to flee. Roads gridlocked with trucks and donkey carts piled high with household goods. So many suffering serial displacement. Muhammad among them, saying, "This is the 4th time we have been displaced. They tell us it's safe, but it turns out it isn't." Israel had first cleared the area 6 months ago, but Hamas has regrouped and stiffened its resistance. Famine headed off by a blitz of aid this past spring, but again, Gaza is now on the brink. Hospitals saying they are now just 36 hours from shutting down due to a lack of fuel. And that floating U.S.-built pier dismantled for the 4th time due to rough seas. And now the Pentagon says it might not be reinstalled until the UN distributes the nearly 19 million pounds of backlogged aid on the beach. The UN was supposed to distribute it, but halted distributions, citing lawlessness in Gaza. And with ceasefire talks stalling between Israel and Hamas, protests erupting in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, where tens of thousands clogged the city center, demanding a deal for the return of 120 hostages in Gaza, living and dead.
They've been lighting fires here in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It gives you a sense of the desperation and the urgency of these protesters. These people have been marching for 3 hours now, demanding a hostage deal.
That is tensions intensifying between Israel and the powerful Iranian-backed militia Hezbollah. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant sharing this image with troops on the northern border, saying, "We're approaching a decision-making point on whether they can reach an agreement or opt for a military offensive against Hezbollah."
Israeli officials, Rachel, tell me that both Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to the broad parameters of a deal brokered by the U.S. that would stave off a war. But Hezbollah has said that it can't sign that deal until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. That could be months away, and so those officials are saying at this point a potentially devastating wider regional war is more likely than not.